I think we're live. Yes, we are live. Good evening, everyone. I'm Reverend Sherri James. I am Senior Minister for Understanding Principles for Better Living Church in Los Angeles, California. And this is the Bible Hangout. This is our weekly Bible study. It is a webinar. And one of the things I'm working on for 2017 is to have a live component. So very excited about that. And I think tonight is going to be a really powerful discussion. And I hope that there's some good stuff that comes out that can help us respond better to our world. And you'll see what I mean as soon as I pull the PowerPoint up. So the question tonight is, do you know how to pray in a hostile world? And I thought that it would be irresponsible of me as a spiritual teacher to not address the elephant in the room, which is today the recent killing of Keith Lamont Smith and Terrence Crutcher. And because we're talking about the 7-step prayer, which was basically about who knows what this lesson would have been without those two events. But, this lesson is about how to pray. But I think it's particularly important to know how to pray in this kind of situation. And I want to hopefully dispel the idea that prayer is what you do as a last resort, or that prayer is what you do as a what's the word I want to say? When you have nothing left. I want to dispel that myth. I'm going to mute you. There we go. Okay. And so tonight we're going to talk about the 7-step prayer, but we're going to look at it in light of recent events and how to respond to recent events. And I'm really hoping that you guys give me a lot of pushback, because I really want to get to something. I'm getting where Ida B. Wells was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm just about sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I'm hoping that we can have a very lively and transformational discussion to talk about what are some right ways that we as a spiritual community or spiritually minded people can respond to what's happening in our world. The outline is pretty straightforward. We've got the announcements, the opening prayer, why prayer matters, prayer as a response to violence, the 7-step prayer, your next steps, and then Q&A. Of course, you can ask questions throughout. Why the Bible Hangout? I guess because of events like Terrence Crutcher and Keith Lamont Smith, that this is a world that needs spiritual tools for handling the things that are at hand. And everything that's out there is first an expression in the heart before it's an expression in the body. And so we've got a collective heart that we need to heal as a people. And I don't mean Black people, but I mean people, this sense of other. And there's a healing that needs to take place just in general. The Bible Hangout is free, but it does cost in order to bring it forward. And so I encourage you, if this moves you, if this helps you, would you consider making a gift? And please know that a gift of any size is greatly appreciated. And you can do that right on revsherri.com, or I think in the newsletter too. Anyway, well, at any rate, however you decide to support is greatly appreciated. So thank you for that in advance. So the way that this series works is that there's always a blog post, which I sent out earlier today. The Bible Hangout is now, and every Wednesday night at 6 o'clock, we do a mastermind group. And I'm so just excited about this mastermind group, because it really has been a powerful transformational experience. And I'm just grateful for everyone who's really been a part of it. We have had such a great time. We've learned so much. I've learned so much about prayer, about how to pray, about how to support other people in prayer. And there are things I felt like I quote unquote already knew. And so now to even, take it a deeper level is just, it's just gravy. I can't, and it's been amazing. And those of you that have been a part of it, I think you definitely know that. So yeah, I was going to say one other thing. I just saw an incoming call from Myra, but Myra, you're right there. So I don't know what happened there. Hey, Eves. Eves is with us in the chat room. Alita says, amazing. It really is. If you have not been a part of our mastermind group on Wednesday nights, I strongly encourage you. It's free. The kind of things that we do in this mastermind are things that you would honestly pay thousands of dollars to get this type of support. And I'm not kidding, because people charge for masterminds. It's free. Well, there's a long distance call, but hello, with the cell phones that everybody has, it's virtually free. So definitely I encourage you to join us on Wednesday night, 6 o'clock Pacific. We're in the midst of a new series at Up Church, also on prayer. It just happened to coincide that way. It wasn't planned, at least not from the human side of it. It wasn't planned. The series is called How to Pray a Deeper Prayer, and the hashtag is Pray Ocean Deep. And the entire series is built around teaching you how to pray ocean deep. And we've covered some of those things in this class, but what we haven't really talked about are the 7 conditions, or the 7 mental attitudes for true prayer. And the way that I explain this series is using the metaphor of the ocean, where, in the ocean, if you swim on the surface or just ride on the surface, there are a number of amazing things to see. You can see whales, you can see dolphins, you can see some flying fish, you can see sea lions and seals and other things like that swim up near the surface. But if you want to plume the majesty, the depths of the ocean, and really get to the majesty of the ocean, you've got to go beneath the surface. You've got to go ocean deep. And it's the same thing with prayer, that there's a level of prayer where you can get your needs met. You can get your house note paid. You can get your body healed. You can get some relationships restored. Those are all great things that you can get on the surface of prayer. But there's a level of praying that goes beneath the surface that gets at what is your divine assignment. And it is where you connect face to face with God and with the essence of your being. It is where you come to know this radiant body that is the truth of your being, where you sit face to face with I am. And that's learning to pray ocean deep. And so this series that we're doing at Up Church is called How to Pray a Deeper Prayer, or hashtag Pray Ocean Deep. I have been sending out the links to, we're only one Sunday in on the lesson, but I posted it on my SoundCloud account and I sent you guys a link, so you definitely can take a listen to it. But I'm really excited about just the concept in general, but also the series but that's what we're doing at Up Church, is How to Pray Ocean Deep. So if you're in Los Angeles in the next 6 weeks and it's fall 2016, we would love to have you join us. It's really going to be a powerful series. It has already been remarkable. The scripture for this series is, whatever you ask for in prayer with faith, you will receive. And that's Matthew 21:22. And so let's just take a moment to relax and take a deep and cleansing breath. And one more time, a deep cleansing breath. And one more time, last time. Father, Mother God, we open our hearts and our minds. I thank you for the power that is going to be stirred up in this hour that we have together. And I thank you for the solutions that are going to come forward. I think that we all agree that life is precious and that we value all lives. And we call forth the solution now to this situation with police brutality. And we use the format of this class to advance the kingdom message, which is that all people matter. All people are valuable in the sight of God. And we mean to live that way in our own personal lives and insist on it in the collective consciousness of the people. And so I ask that you anoint this conversation so that something powerful may come out of tonight, and that some real actionable steps may come out of this conversation tonight. We are a spiritual people. We are not shrinking from the world, for we know that we were created to subdue it. And so we stand together, united. We're in different parts of the country, but we touch and agree that this mess is over, and we mean to be the people to make it so. In the name and nature of Jesus the Christ, we affirm that this prayer is answered, and so it is. And amen. So why prayer matters? I very rarely use pictures of actual people on the blog post header, but those pictures, right on the left-hand side, I think it's the left-hand side, but it's the woman with the peace sign. How about that? That's a picture of Terrence Crutcher. And on the right-hand side is the picture of Keith Lamont Smith. And I particularly chose pictures of them with their, well, I think Keith is with his spouse, but I think Terrence, I was gonna say Terry, I think Terrence is with his twin sister. I particularly chose those pictures because I've shared my views before on just the hostile nature of the police force toward people of color. And so I'm highlighting this tonight because prayer as our first response to this situation. And we talk every week about why prayer matters. And I think that this situation right now that we have is evidence of why prayer is so important. And the reason that prayer matters is because there is a divine right solution that can only be discerned through communion with God. There is a divine right solution that can only be discerned through communion with God. And what I mean is that there are many solutions, right? The manslaughter charges against the cop who shot and killed Terrence Crutcher, that's a solution. But there is a divine right solution that ends this mess for good. There is a divine right solution that ends this mess for good. But it takes an open vessel to receive it and to bring it forward. And the only way to get to that divine right solution is to commune with the energy intelligence that is God to bring it forward. And so we can keep putting band-aids on the situation, indictments that don't turn into anything, or I'm not saying the protests in the street are not effective, because I believe that absolutely is important. But what I'm saying is that there is a divine right solution. We can pray to get to a tipping point where we tip over out of this expression at this level and into a higher level of expression. But it takes a group of people, not just one person, although one person is enough combined with God, but it takes a group of people who say, enough, enough. Give us the solution now, God. I don't want to do anything else other than the thing that releases this level of expression, because it's enough pain. Well, anyway, there is enough. Enough is enough. That's really it. Enough is enough. And so prayer matters, because when you finally get to enough is enough, then the right action that needs to be done presents itself, and not before then. And with prayer, you can get there. Like, you can get to a level of conviction in prayer where it does not matter what it looks like outwardly to you. You know that it is done. And by sheer dint of your alignment with the idea that it is done, whether it comes through you or you witness it happening, everything begins to conform to match the one who has made a decision. And we need enough people who have made a decision that we are done with this mess. When people were routinely people of color, mainly Black folks, were disrespected on buses and all across life, but buses in particular. There were several attempts to organize a bus boycott. And Rosa Parks was not the first person asked to give up her seat or arrested for not giving up her seat. But she became the point around which everyone rallied. And then, but there had been this moving toward a position of conviction about the bus system and boycotting the bus system up till that point. So it didn't materialize out of thin air. People had been working on this idea, but they had not yet coalesced and began to move as a unit. And what I'm saying is that we need a group of people who decide that this is over and we can begin to move as a unit. We can begin to move as a body of people who say, enough is enough. I'm done. I'm flat out done. I cannot hand you another son. I cannot hand you another husband. I cannot hand you another brother, another sister, another mother, another auntie, another uncle. I cannot hand you another one. Enough is enough. Prayer will get you to that place of conviction where you are no longer wavering, but you are certain in your spirit that this is not right. I'm not having it. And this must change. And it doesn't matter what you think of it, you on the other side of the equation, because I have decided. And so prayer can get you there. Prayer can get you to that place of conviction where you begin to open up for the divine right solution that will end this mess. This is why prayer matters. And this is why it should not be treated as what you do as your last resort. It is your first course of action. Constance says, I'm trying to find my place in the world of this contrast. In the world of this contrast of the police and race situation. Am I not to be the one to stand for peace and hold in that consciousness and know that it is possible? So tell me what you mean. Can you unmute yourself and tell me what you mean by that? Are you able to? There you go, Constance.
Yes.
Hey,
okay.
Tell me what you mean by that.
As I have the belief that I don't want to be the one to have the conversation of always talking about what is going on, but I want to be the one that stands for peace and know that when the consciousness of the people change, that I am there as a peace holder and able to aid in that awareness. I want to be sitting in the seat of enlightenment to the point that when they awaken, every individual awakens to their Christhood, to the divineness that is within them, that I am there and not, I'm not I don't know. I know I'm not a fighter.
Yeah.
I don't want to be standing and shouting for peace and all that. I want to be the peace that's in the world. So that's what I'm trying to say. You know, in my awareness and understanding as a new thought metaphysician, am I not to be in that awareness so that when their souls open to the Christ within, because each individual is unfolding, I believe, in the purpose that they are here.
Right.
The ones that are doing the shooting, the ones that are saying, I am the one that will be shot. Because of the law of attraction, what I send out, I get back. You know, that is the energy that I am putting out. And I am meeting that which I am meant to have.
Right.
So I just want to know, can I not be the one to stand for peace? Is it not possible?
Right. And I would say to you that it's absolutely possible to stand for peace. And I don't see it as either or. So,
Okay.
so meaning that different people and everybody has to deliver at the level that they can deliver, and not level like one is higher or superior, but level like
Of their awareness.
Right. The level
of where
of
they
awareness,
are.
right. And so that we absolutely need a body of people just sitting and holding the consciousness for the awakening. But there are also people who are at a place where they can maintain their peace and go in and work with the people. Because let me take my UFBL hat off. The consciousness is built, not just, consciousness has fruit. So it isn't just that I am thinking positive thoughts, because my actions have to represent what it is that I'm thinking.
Yes.
And one of the things that Martin Luther King said in his speech, "Why We Can't Wait," that he made to Stanford University, is that it's a two-step thing. It's that we're holding the vision for you waking up. But until you wake up, we're going to get some laws to restrain your body and keep you from killing us. So until your heart catches up. And so it's a both and. I don't see it as either or, and I don't see it as you need to be the person out in the street. I think you need to show up where you can show up.
Okay.
I think you need to show up at a place that is true for your spirit. What is true for my spirit is that I believe that there is a solution. So one of the things I'm working with, there's a guy, Richard, and I cannot call his last name right now, but he runs an organization called Mindful Badge. And he is a cop that practices mindfulness meditation. And he takes this around the country and teaches police forces how to help their cops to learn how to de-escalate situations, and he teaches them mindfulness. And so I have reached out to him, and I'm looking at exploring a partnership with him in 2017 for Up Church, where we can do a community meditation initiative with the community and with the police. So I think everybody has to do at the level that is right for their consciousness. For my consciousness, I'm interested in creating a sense of unity. And I know that there's something that happens when you breathe together with people. That you simply unify as a group of people, and it begins to produce change, and it lays the foundation. Somebody else is going to be the person that's going to go and get the lawsuit and follow it through, and so everybody, it's like everybody has a part to play in turning the situation around. And I think it's asking the question is, where do I fit in? Given the unique gifts and talents that I have, what is my contribution to making this world a better place? And if what I believe is right in my heart, and I feel it in my spirit, that my only job is to visualize for a better society, then that's my contribution.
Excellent. I feel at peace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I also would like
go ahead.
Sherri, if you, or when you do that mindfulness, to share that information so that perhaps we can do it here in Baltimore also.
Yeah, what I'm looking at is building a program that can be duplicated around the country. That I don't see it as like a singular thing, that I would, in my vision, that there are community meditation initiatives all around the country where there is this coming together of the community and the police force. And mind you, there are going to be folks that are be skeptical, like that is some mumbo jumbo, airy fairy, right? And of course, they're the policemen, like I get right, but you don't need everybody. You just need the ones that believe. You need the ones that understand that there is a connection between us, and we're going to come together and hold a vision for something greater. And so I guess what I'm saying is that you have to step in at the place that is right for your spirit. right? And you have to step in at the place that you're uniquely suited for. And so when I looked and I said, wait a minute, I've got all this training as a spiritual teacher. I recognize that I'm a master teacher, that I know how to teach people how to build consciousness. I know how to build consciousness. That, you know, and then I'm very good with organizing groups of people, and I'm not afraid to go and talk to the mayor or talk to the head of the police force or what. So I started looking at all the things that and I care about the situation because my brother happens to be Black. He's my son, but he's not my biological son, happens to be Black. That, you know, so I'm uniquely committed to this situation, right? I'm uniquely suited to contribute a solution, and I don't see myself as helpless in the situation. And I also don't see myself as walking in fear. I don't cringe when I see police lights. I won't cringe when I see police lights. I don't fear a cop when I see him. I'm not rehearsing in my head what will happen if a cop pulls me over. One, I don't have any expectation of being pulled over because I don't feel like I'm drawing that vibration. But should I draw that vibration? I'm not. You get what I'm saying? Like I'm not bringing that kind of energy. I'm coming in the name of God, and so I can only draw to me that which is emanating from me. But I get that I may know that, but I also realize that there is Pookie on the street who ain't never heard this before. And that's who I care about. That's who I care about getting to and talking to and communicating with and finding the language to reach him and her, because Pookie, I guess, could be her too. So I agree with that. It is the same with all things. We hold the vision and we put legs on the vision. Yeah, I see it as a both and. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Myra. I just saw your message. You said the first session was amazing. I listened today. Yay. This is the sermon series. Cool. Oh, wait, I lost my PowerPoint. Here we go. So prayer as a response to violence. And we just talked a little bit about this, but I really see prayer as your best resource and not your last option. And prayer, if you want to be healed, then let prayer be your first course of action. And I'm making a distinction between being healed and being cured. Cure is you put a Band-Aid on it, right? The indictments in the Freddie Gray case that came to nothing, Band-Aids, those are cures, right? They ameliorate the anger and the resentment, in the community, but it's not sweeping reform that changes a situation, right? I'm interested in a healing. I'm interested in sweeping reform that shifts how we police in this country, period. And I refuse to have anything less, because anything less allows this system to stay alive. And it cannot stay alive because there are people that I care about that are dying in this vibration that we're in. And so what I'm interested in is a complete and total collective healing in this matter. And I'm willing to stand up and call for it and be public about it and get out there and do something about it. Prayer compels experience to change by healing the mind that birthed it. Prayer compels experience to change by healing the mind that birthed it. So there is a such thing as intercessory prayer, where you can pray for someone and you can support and affect change. We experienced this with the Mastermind prayer that we've been doing on Wednesday nights, that in that prayer vibration, we have been speaking the word for various people. Someone will say, I've got my friend in such and such area of the country and she's having a hard time finding a job. And we will pray that this person finds their divine right place of employment with the perfect pay and perfect work. And inevitably, somebody will come back, the person will come back and say, it worked. Or the person who was prayed for will come join the call, because it's like, shoot, if it worked like that. So we have the ability to pray for a solution around this whole situation with police brutality. that will begin to cause a healing in the collective mind that gave birth to this experience. So the prayer is a very valuable and powerful response to violence at any time and at all times. And so I strongly encourage you to pray, and to pray for a divine right solution. And then if there's a part that you are to contribute, it may not be anything for you to do. You may simply need to be the one that just sits and just holds the vision in prayer, right? But to pray for the divine right solution, to give birth to it, and to hold the consciousness for that to come forward. Constance says, it cannot stay alive in this manner as it is now. Time for a shift in the race issues. Yes. And Constance, to tell you the truth, I believe that is what is happening. I think that this is coming up like a sore that needs to be healed, and it's coming up to be healed. I really do. I don't think that this is accident, that these things are happening right now. I think that they are showing themselves so that healing can take place. And I think this is why what we do is so powerful, and why we need to be a part of the conversation. Something, this comes out of something Marianne Williamson voiced, but which I have definitely been feeling, which is that you need people of substance and you need people of consciousness setting public policy. Public policy is going to be set, right? It's being set. It's set in microcosms. It's set in our churches. It's set in our schools. It's set in our world. And my thought is, who should be involved with the setting of public policy, if not people who believe in the divinity of all humankind? And because public policy doesn't set itself. Someone has to get in, someone has to have a conversation about it. Somebody has to consider all the different angles, all the different considerations. Somebody has to hear all the different opinions that are a part of establishing public policy. And my opinion, I feel like in the spiritual community, we have done this. I'm gonna be fine. And kind of taking our hands off. And I feel like we have let the inmates run the asylum to a degree. And in my opinion, I do believe that people of consciousness should be involved with setting public policy, deciding things like how much money goes to education. The fact that we have more money going into the prison industrial complex than we do having going into the educational system is in part due to good people not wanting to get in and have the hard conversations, because you don't want to deal with the unsavory types who are greedy, selfish, out for self, difficult to deal with. You'd rather stand back, but you stand back. And here we have a situation where, people are basically being funneled into prison through the school systems by moving them into detention and other things that they get labeled with through school. And so they're almost positioned for the prison industrial complex, which then feeds a whole other economic cycle. So I guess for me, I cannot sit on the sidelines. And that's what it feels like to me. So I don't mean to characterize what anybody else is doing as sitting on the sidelines, but it feels like doing nothing is sitting on the sidelines and not using the gifts and talents that I have to make things better. This also plays into just my interpretation of Jesus and how I saw him. And he was very much someone who got in, who learned how to be in the world, but not of the world, and who very much took a stand against social injustice. Hence, they killed him. Andrew says, the blessings from the Mastermind prayer group are amazing. Also, the depths of my prayers have increased tremendously. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So how to pray. So we're going to go through this 7-step prayer. And what you're going to notice is that there are 7 steps in the 7-step prayer. But the first 5 are really about tending to your needs. The first 5 are about tending to your needs. You must take care of you first. This is so important. You must take care of you. There are, when you get on the airplane and the airplane is, and they drop down the little oxygen masks or the instructions that they give, because hopefully you're not on a plane where they drop the oxygen mask and scare the mess out of everybody. They tell you to put, even if you have a child, put the mask on yourself first and then help the next person. And so it is the same way in prayer. And I feel like too many people are running out trying to help other people, and they have not tended to their own needs first. And the thing is that empty people can only offer empty solutions, because whatever you come up with, whatever you present, is only ever going to be as good as or as extensive as the depth of your own character. And so you must begin to do your work to make sure that you are completely filled so that you may be a vessel for peace in the world. One of the funniest sermons I heard Reverend Mary give, she talked about people negotiating peace in the international arena. And she's like, there are people out here negotiating peace in the international arena, and they ain't spoken to their own children in the last 30 years. Or it's this idea that you can't give what you don't have, right? So you're coming and saying, you know what, I'm gonna give, family values. And when we pull back the cover on your own family, it snakes, worms, dust mites, bed bugs, all manner of, vermin underneath the covers. And so in prayer, you have to tend to your needs first. Get rid of your own cobwebs, right? And obviously this is a process. This is not a get it all right and then go do the work. It is a process of not shirking the responsibility of your duty to develop yourself and your duty to take care of yourself. Eve says we need a natural day of prayer for peace and unity between police and community. May God protect us all. Yes, I agree. I agree. I definitely do. Alita says most of the prison industrial system is more financial than anything else. And I agree. Yes, it is. Absolutely. You trace those contracts. Those contracts reveal everything. So fortify yourself so that you can pray with conviction for others. So in prayer, what makes prayer work is a level of conviction where you get to the place that you know that you know that you know. And if you can think of conviction as degrees as opposed to like all or nothing, the prayer where you have a conviction that I need this God, this, right? That when you have that level of conviction, those are the prayers that you can just check your watch because prayer is on the way, right? The answer is on the way. So, but you can pray to get to a level of conviction. Now, you naturally have a level of conviction. If you have watched any child, you can see that conviction. Whatever it is that they're doing, they are deeply convicted in their spirit about it. Sorry, y'all, somebody's coming down the street. I don't have a way to mute this. That there is this definite conviction in them. I watch how Jordan moves around. He gets the toys that he wants. He's convicted and try to take that toy out of his hand. And it's like, no, this is my toy. Like, just, and the thing is that level of conviction is natural to us. So when we pray, essentially what we're doing is that we are moving the blocks out of the way so that the natural conviction in our heart can come forward. And the thing is that we tend to our own needs first so that we can get to a place where we feel like we are divinely cared for. And then we're in a position to pray with a level of conviction for others that surpasses anything that I think that you would imagine or think about. Alita says, is that what you meant by feel God? Yes. Yes. Alita says, yes, Jordan did that to me in Walgreens. You can't go in the store with him, not with no money. You just got to go in there and say, look, we window shopping today. And you got to be firm in your conviction, because he is firm in his conviction that he needs whatever it is that's on the shelf. The thing is that in your prayer, when you get to that place where your needs are met, you put yourself in a position where you can pray with conviction for other people. And that's what we're getting to tonight, is that praying with conviction for our world, praying with conviction for the families that are suffering right now because their father has been taken away from them. You know, it hit me that there are 11 African-American children who lost their father in the last 24, 48 hours. 11. Terrence had 4 children. Keith had 7 children, both married fathers. So this work is so important, because you want what you give to not be empty. You want the prayer you pray to go far, to have fruit, right? And so when you pray for Terrence's wife, when you pray for Keith's wife, right? When you pray for their well-being, that you want there to be some power in it. Well, in order to get the most power out of it, you got to fill yourself up. Your own tank has to be so full that you can pray with a deep level of conviction for their families. So step number 1 in this 7-step prayer is illumination. Illumination. And specifically, what she says is you want to affirm the presence of God. But what you're doing in this first step, right, is you are establishing spiritual consciousness. The truth is that I can only have as far as I can see. And so what the prayer of illumination does is that it establishes spiritual consciousness so that you can see more than what is present. So the solution to this mess is present right now. The solution to this police state that the African American and Latino communities are living under is present right now. Just sit with that. It's present right now. And think about that. The solution is present right now. It does not mean that somebody consciously knows what it is, or that somebody's consciously holding it back. It's that the solution is present right now. Exactly what we need to do, exactly what needs to happen is available right now. Nothing new is coming. It will simply be a reconfiguring of what already is. What we want is readily available, but cannot now be seen by us at our present level of consciousness. So we need the fog clearing declarative prayer of let there be light. With these words as our opening to this 7-step prayer, or words that communicate this intent, what we do is we cut through the attachment to the physical and we signal to the universe an openness for something greater. So this prayer of illumination, it establishes us in spiritual consciousness. It separates us from the physical world by drawing our attention to the power and presence of God that indwells us. But you don't need fancy words. Sometimes I sit down and I might say, hey, God, I'm here to receive what you got for me. I let go of everything that I've done today. I let go of everything that still got to be done. I let go of everything that I wish I had. I let it all go. I let go of all attachments. I do a scan of my body. I'm listening for and looking for any tenseness in the body. Sometimes it's in my shoulders. Sometimes it's in my abdomen. Sometimes it's in my hips. Right? Sometimes my toes are curled. I don't even realize that they're curled, right? And I'm just paying attention. I'm listening. Sometimes there's a tightness like in the neck, right? I'm just paying attention to what is it like, you know, what's Where am I wound up? And I'm telling my body, relax, relax, let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light. And then I pay attention to what has my emotional attention. And so sometimes I might be thinking about things that's going on with the church. You know, we've got a couple of, a big program coming up at the end of October. We've got the prayer series. I've got to promote that. And you know, and so all of that is on my mind. And it's like, peace, be still, right? Let all of it go. Let there be light. Let there be light. That's the first step in that prayer. That's the first step in the 7-step prayer. It's where you detach from the physical world and you draw your attention to the energy intelligence that is God. You may use any word you choose. My teachers at the Johnny Coleman Institute taught me, let there be light. But you may use any words that separate you in consciousness from the physical world and give your attention wholly and completely to God. Sometimes I'll say, let us become still. I'll say that to myself, even though I'm praying by myself. And then I just begin to breathe deeply, right? Because that helps me to like detach, right? To not feel so tense, to not feel so wound up, and to just simply continue to relax and relax and relax. And what I'm looking to get to is that state of just peacefulness, right? I'm alert because I'm listening for God. I'm peaceful because I recognize that the spirit flows where it has an opening. And so I'm trying to be that alert, attentive opening. Andrea says, God standing in absolute integrity, always is perfect love, wisdom, is perfect love, perfect wisdom, perfect life, perfect substance, and perfect power is available right now. The solution is in the perfect integrity of God. I thank you, God. That's good, girl. I like that. That's good. Constance says, I do believe that if there is a situation, challenge, etc., there is a solution. Yes. No, every problem comes with its solution simultaneously. The moment the problem appears, the solution is also available at the same time. It does not, there's no delay, right? There's no delay. But there has to be a consciousness that can see the solution, right? And this is why prayer is so important. And this is why I'm saying that it's not what you do at the end, right? When you got nothing left, it's what you do at the beginning, because the solution is already present. Constance says, all that we desire is always within. And as we request that light understanding be revealed, it comes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Step number 2, adoration. Now, Reverend Della taught me this. She taught me that you have to feel after God. Yes, God is principle, but God is also Father. So our personal indwelling Lord. Jesus showed us this through his words and his actions. When you go back and you look at Jesus, it's so interesting, the things that people pick up on. But if you just do a balancing act, right? If you take the number of times that Jesus, behaved compassionately versus the number of times that he, turned over the money changers table, right? Stuff like that. The balance is on the side of compassion. The balance is on the side of being tender and loving. The balance is on the side of thoughtfulness. And so he demonstrated this, and he regarded God as a loving Father who cares deeply for his creation. He refers to God as both Father and Mother. I don't have time to go into that tonight, but he refers to God as both Father and Mother. And he taught that God is mindfully aware of our needs. And he said things like, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Now, I wanted to put a pin in that, because I want you to get that it's so easy now. We always say Father God, Father, Mother God, Mother God. We use these terms and they're just part of the language now, even if it's not what you say in your particular spiritual community. But I want you to understand that up to the point of Jesus, historically, God was friend, but he was someone to be beseeched. And so part of the mission of Jesus was to teach us that God is a loving presence, always biased in our favor. God is a loving presence, always biased in our favor. And that is revolutionary. And so as followers of Jesus, we're following in those footsteps. And some of the reaction, because God is this distant friend who could turn on you, was so ingrained in the people that for a time there were people who followed Jesus and said, yes, God is our Father, not singularly Jesus's Father, but God is our Father. But that mindset that God is separate and apart from us is so ingrained that over time it began to creep back into the consciousness. And so you almost have to fight somebody to tell them that God is their parent. Alita says, Constance told me about a bell to download to your phone. Oh, yes, that reminds you during the day to be the mindfulness bell. Yeah. Number 3, forgiveness. Before you pray, forgive. So my teacher, Reverend Mary Tumpkin, wrote this book, Before You Pray, Forgive. And in about 30 or so pages, the upshot of what she says is, before you pray, before you make that connection, you have got to forgive. Before you make that connection, you've got to forgive. Why? Because the lack of forgiveness is stuck energy. The lack of forgiveness is stuck energy. And in that stuck energy, the spirit cannot flow. And so the grudges that we hold against others, no matter how small, interfere with our connection to spirit. And the anger and disappointment that we feel about our own mistakes, no matter how tiny, interfere with the flow of spirit through us. And so essentially we are alchemists. We are managing energy. We are managing the energy of God. We are managing the energy of God, and we are alchemists. And when we forgive, what we are doing is taking all of that anger, that resentment, that disappointment, that hurt, that betrayal, all of that. We're taking all that and we are transmuting it such that it can flow. It's the same energy. It's the same energy. And we are releasing the anchors around ourselves. So that police officer, God bless her. I forgive her. There's a divine right solution. I'm not willing to hold on to anger toward her in exchange for not hearing the divine right solution. It does not mean that I do not want her held accountable or that she should not be held accountable. But it means that that the energy that I have around being angry, maybe this is it. People think you have to be angry in order to hold somebody accountable, and that letting go of the anger will somehow dissipate or take away from holding somebody accountable. And maybe it's time to divorce those concepts in our head, that you can hold someone accountable, but also free them in your soul. So yes, should, something happen? Absolutely, we're going to court, because these are the mechanisms that are set up by which justice in this world is brought about. But I refuse to hold on to anger as a driving force. What is right is that what you did was not right, and you should be held accountable. You should be out of your job, right? Not on paid leave. But I'm not going to hold on to anger, because I'm listening for the divine right solution. I have decided that this mess is over. And so I know that the Spirit is already speaking and clearing and showing where the solution is, and I'm listening. So I cannot afford to hold on to resentments. I cannot afford to hold on to anger. I just flat out, I cannot afford it. And so this third step, again, we're still only dealing with you or me or our individual needs, is about forgiveness. It's about clearing that energy as I go deeper. Constance says, thank God that we have that power to release the anger, hate, and all those other ill feelings, because if we don't, it will manifest in our bodies as dis-ease. Yes. Thank you for giving me another way to be about my Father's business and love in the midst of, to release, forgive, yet still know that justice is due. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's what we pioneer in our community, right? This power in what we're doing. We have to see the power in what we're doing, which is that we can teach people how to hold folks accountable and let go of the anger, right? I'm not trading my life to hold you accountable, right? Not gonna happen. And not holding on to the anger is not letting you off the hook. It's letting me off the hook, because I'm the one that's on the hook. If I'm holding the anger, my anger ain't doing nothing to you. And I had to catch myself. I had to catch myself, because I was in the kitchen cooking this evening, preparing my little shrimp dinner before I got ready to do the Bible Hangout. And the thought crept up, who are these cowards that keep working for the police force, so like they're scared for their lives? And it was like, all right, Sherri, bring it back in, right? Because I'm not willing to let that spirit fester inside of me. And so I just begin to bless that woman. Forgive her, I release her. I bless her, I forgive her, I release her. Thank you for the lesson that you're teaching, whatever that is, even if I don't know what it is right now. Thank you for the lesson. Number 4, accept the blessings and God's will. Now, accepting the blessings is easy. I think everybody can say that. You know, I got a little thing I do where I write down the things that I'm grateful for. I do it every day. I set a little timer and I journal for 2.5 to 3 minutes about something positive that happened in the last 24 hours. And I'm just openly declaring my declaration, right? But one of the things that I sometimes had difficulty doing with gratitude is I used to be afraid to express gratitude for unwanted experiences, because I thought that gratitude would somehow anchor me to those unwanted experiences. And then one day it dawned on me that spirit is intelligent and knows what I need. And 2, my gratitude connects me only to the good in my experience. But 3, the right amount of gratitude will transform my limited expression into what I do want, or move what I don't want out and make way for something better. So just a little note about gratitude. But the second part of this is to accept God's will and to recognize that divine intelligence knows the exact right way for things to work out in our lives. And because we see in part, we often want to move directly from where we are to where we want to be without any intermediate steps. But getting what you want might have an intermediate step that is part of expanding you so that you can have what you want. And so in those moments when you feel held back, you know, I'm working with this right now. We're trying to get this first book out that, you know, just, and God's will be done. I accept the will. You know, there are times when I'm like, I'm racing, getting everything done. And then there are times it's like I'm in molasses, trying to move myself forward. And so at those moments, I accept the will. I accept that this moment, this place where I am is full of absolute good. And I accept this intermediate step that is on the way to me having ultimately what is mine, which is best-selling, New York Times best-selling author. Constance says, you reminded me that we are all one, that I am seeing a piece of me in the world, so I'm inclined to do my Ho'oponopono prayer. Yes. Did I pronounce that right? Ho'oponopono. Oh gosh, Ho'oponopono. Yes.
No, you didn't.
I didn't say that right.
It's Ho'oponopono prayer.
Yeah. Oh, I messed it up. Okay. Oops.
Did you hear me?
No, you did. I didn't.
It's Ho'oponopono.
Oh, Ho'oponopono. Got it. Okay. Well, that. All right. Number 5, request guidance, aid, and healing. Now, this step is a bridge step because you're asking for what you need for yourself and others. So this is the first time in this 7-step prayer where you begin to think about other people. We have been taught up to this point, and I really have to say this because, you know, I have some friends who shall remain, a friend who shall remain nameless, but he knows who he is. And we always have this thing about, you know, pride and people being selfish. And I'm telling you, you need to be selfish in terms of your prayer. I think you need to work on yourself. And I think you need to tend to your needs first. And I don't think you neglect the needs of other people, but the command is love God and love others as you love yourself, which means that the quality of my love for others is indicative of my love for myself. And so I cannot love others until I first love myself. So I say all that to say that this bridge step for number 5, where you start to request aid and guidance and healing, that you're asking for what you need. So it might be, I need help with making this decision, or I need help with knowing the right way to go. And then, but you then begin to pray for that for other people. You may know that somebody in your life needs some help financially. And so you begin to intercede on their behalf for financial help. Or you may know that someone in your life needs, some companionship and is really hurting and wants to be in a relationship. And so you begin to pray for their wholeness, right? Because you don't want them attracting a half person. You begin to pray for their wholeness so that they may attract their whole partner, you know? And so you begin to ask for what it is that you want. And the asking is important. I want to just put a pin in that. The asking is important because, yes, God knows what we need before we ask, but we are form makers. And the way that we begin to form the invisible and draw it out into expression is that we have got to ask. And our asking is the beginning of that formation process. So if you think of asking not as a begging, but asking as a forming process where you begin to shape the substance of God and draw it out as you need it. So the asking is a very, very important step, and it should not be neglected. It should not be neglected. There's no such thing as I'm holier than thou and I don't need to ask for what I want. No, ask for what you want. Because guess what? When you go to a restaurant, you got to ask for what you want. Well, you're in the restaurant of life, so you need to ask for what you want. Number 6, step 6, pray for others. So now you have handled yourself, you've crossed the bridge of asking for help, and now you begin to affirm the well-being. So different from asking for help for someone specifically, praying for others is about an affirmation of the well-being. And this is where I was thinking of you, Constance, when I said visualizing earlier, that this is where you begin to visualize the world that you want. This is where you begin to see the world that you want. And you can visualize a better society, and you can see it in vivid detail. Make it a living reality in your mind. Maybe you envision a press conference announcing sweeping reform in our police departments. Maybe you have the consciousness to see a united bipartisan coalition to shift the way investigations are handled when unarmed people are killed. And this is the thing, seeing a better world might be challenging, especially when you turn on the news or open up your Facebook feed to find that another father has been taken from his children. But we know that spiritual law demands that someone see it before it can be so. And the question is whether you will be the one who sees. Will you be the one who sees? And so this is one of the ways, and I think one of the most powerful ways that you can begin to pray for others is that you can begin to see a better world. You can begin to see a press conference, dress it up, put the right officials there, hear them read the proclamation or read the changes that are happening, see it in vivid detail. See it happening every night before you go to bed. If this is your gift, because your gift might be prayer to this situation, right? And if it is, every night before you go to sleep, see the press conference happening where sweeping reform is being made across police forces in the entire country. Just see it. What? 30 days. Give yourself 30 days. I'm going to do it. If nothing happens, I'll let it go. Right? See it. see it. This is how you begin to pray for others. But it's also praying to see someone coming forward and saying, you know what, we found a cure for cancer, right? Or seeing someone say, you know what, that being highlighted, I've made a dent in human trafficking. These things came about, and now human trafficking has dropped by this amount percent. Start to see it. There must be a class of people who see society as we want it to be. So there has to be a group of people who stop seeing the world as it is. That's it. There has to be a group of people who stop seeing the world as it is and who begin to see it as we want it to be. It's possible to see this moment in time as a footnote on the page of history, as opposed to the all-consuming experience that it is now. We can do that. We're not stuck. We're not helpless. We're not victims. Andrea says, I am dedicated to being in that class. Me too. Me too. I keep saying, God, use me. I got a voice. I will talk and I will not compromise. Send me. Send me. Finally, step 7. So now you have moved through praying for yourself, praying for other people. And now it is about that, getting to that place where you are consciously connecting with absolute good. Excuse me. And in this state, you can use a verse like 1 John 4:16, God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. Hasbrook explains that you mentally repeat the verse three or more times, and then you think only the first clause as often as you wish until you feel the truth in it, and you sit quietly and you let love well up in you. And then you conclude by mentally repeating the entire verse, and then thank God for the realization that we have had. And really, it's simply just time to listen. What does the Spirit have to say to you? Because the mastermind always hears your prayer, and the thing is, whether you hear something directly or not, the act of just showing God that you're open conditions you to hear and receive. And so before you leave your prayer chambers, and I'm saying prayer chambers, I don't necessarily mean something fancy, just take a few minutes to just meditate on the goodness of God. And then finally affirm that our prayer has been answered, that we can affirm that we are open to the divine right solution. And by doing so, we build a physical bridge for energy intelligence to flow through us. All right, y'all, time to do something. Time to do something. Several questions. What did you hear? Perhaps you received a solution that will make a difference. What did you hear tonight? What came up for you? And I do want you guys to share that. That's not a rhetorical question. Can you see how we can make a difference today in what appears to be a dark and hopeless moment? And for those who know that prayer is our first course of action and not our last resort, can you leave me a comment, and specifically a prayer for positive resolution on this YouTube video for this lesson? For those of you that know that prayer is our first course of action and not our last resort, can you leave a prayer on this YouTube video for this lesson that is about positive resolution of this situation? Questions? Constance says, well, I've got my orders to pray and visualize and to be an open vessel of God. Yes, yes. Yes. The floor belongs to you guys.
I think you've left us speechless. You said it all.
I appreciate that, but no, there's more. Here's a question I have, because a lot of us are in the UFBL. What can we do? You know, I know Michael Beckwith has his conference coming up. I think it's next week or sometime in the middle of the week. But what can we do? Don't everybody
Well,
speak
I'm
at
not sure
once.
because, well, I know I've seen Reverend Derek go out and he met with people in his community
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
along with Reverend Galen. I'm
Right.
not too sure what One God, One Thought Center is doing.
Right.
You know,
I always use this example because it's such a non sequitur to what happened. But there's an organization that I work with called Inner City Filmmakers that I love, and I'm plugging Inner City Filmmakers. And it was started by a husband and wife team, Fred Heinrich and Stephanie Lipner. And it was in response to the 1992 riots when Rodney King was beaten on video, and the cops, Mark Furman, those guys were basically let off the hook. And they decided that they wanted to do something about it, and their solution was so it came out of the riots, but you would never tie the two together. What they did was they started something. Stephanie is a producer, and Fred is an editor, and they're both professional, active, working in their careers. And they come together and they decide, every summer we're going to take about 40 kids from the inner city, and we're going to teach them. We're going to put them through a film boot camp and teach them how to tell their own story. And they started this in 1992, and I started working with them in the early 2000s, but like 2009, I think was my first year working with them. And so their response to the riots was to take their talent and use it to make a difference in this community. And so now, 2002 was 24 years ago. So now 24 years later, they have graduated all of these students who are, so their oldest student has to be in their mid 30s, right? Because 1992, all the kids are either just graduated from high school or can get my words right, or first year college. And so every year, there's about 40 kids that they take, somewhere between 30 and 40 kids that they put through this film boot camp and develop them. And for some kids, it's their first professional setting, and they work these kids like they're on a real film set. So they're going without sleep. They're spending nights in the editing room. They're up late trying to get their shots and trying to get the videos edited, and they're learning a craft, and they're learning that their voice is worth hearing, and they have a whole night where they screen all the films. They invite some luminary from the industry to come and speak, but this was their response to the Rodney King riots. I use that example because I don't think that response always has to be like direct legislation. You get what I'm saying? Because what they're doing is having a material impact on inner city communities. And so I'm saying that's why that's why I'm interested in this community meditation initiative, because no, it's not legislation against the police force or looking at police reform, but it is the contribution that I know is going to make a difference, because I know the power of what it is when you get a group of people meditating together. Alita says that works because people come to you with negative feelings and comments. Andrea says, I'm not sure if anyone heard me, but I love the idea of international prayer for unity between the police and the communities. Oh, no, I didn't hear that. That is great. That was Eve's idea. Yeah. Constance says that, give at your level of gifts, what Spirit has bestowed upon us. I feel like there are some unique gifts that we have. There's some unique gifts that we have in the UFBL, that we are trained metaphysicians, and we are dyed-in-the-wool Fillmorian theologists. So I think that's a gift, right? I think our adherence to scripture, and I think all those things are gifts that we must do something with. And I don't necessarily think it means getting out in the street, unless somebody is a get out in the street kind of person, right? That may, if we got to get out in the street people, then we should get out in the street. But I don't think those are the people that we have. But I don't think that we sit and do nothing as if this is not happening, because we're seeing it, so it's there. It would be just like if there was an international crisis in another country and we would send money or aid or something like that. It's like we wouldn't just stand by and not do something. We would say, you know what, it's not right that girls in Africa are married off at some places in Africa, in some countries, are married off at 12, right? You know, or female genital mutilation. That's not okay, right? So I'm going to get involved to do something about that. I'm not going to just say, and back attitude. I'm going to do what I can to contribute. Francine, you might have to retype your message because I don't know what you said. I think that and then it cut out. Awesome. I don't want to keep everybody up. I just say thank you. If anybody else has anything else, I do want to leave the floor open just for a moment. But otherwise, next week, chapter 6, which is prayer letters. So, you know, this is going to be my favorite because that's how I learned to pray, was writing letters to God. So prayer letters in Handbook of Positive Prayer by Hypatia Hasbrook. Any questions? All right. Have a great night, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.